Hi, this is Tim, and welcome back to another question and answer session. And first of all, I want to congratulate Alicia Lomez for remembering to bring her Sim IPE this week. Actually, she calls it the Sim Anthem. I'm going to have to figure out exactly what that's about. But yeah, last week she left her SIM IP at home, and yeah, she really struggled with getting her IP addresses all shaken out. And I also want to highlight a comment that just came in from Arsalan Ahmed. He said this device is a lifesaver. Tim Wilborne should get a Nobel Peace Prize for it, as I'm sure it solves lots more floor conflicts than just IP conflicts. And thank you very much. And another way that we work towards peace and conflict resolution as Amber and I are involved in Rotary, which kind of coincidentally, at least this is why I went ahead and popped Alicia Lopez at the front of this. Alicia in her post also noted that it's a big red flag when new engineers come in with solutions before understanding what the plant is doing well. How do we coach people to resist the urge to fix things before they truly have listened to the voices and baggage of an old facility? Now, I mainly come to you from a manufacturing point of view, but I am going to share this one hopefully with my Rotarian friends who were at district training this weekend. Because while if we didn't discuss almost that exact thing, and I mean, really, we talked about coaching. We talked about our urge to just fix things instead of actually zooming out and listening. And yeah, what actually is going well at either the plant or our clubs? And that, yeah, I guess I should I should probably catch you up. We did some Rotary District training this weekend with a stellar group. Also, it wasn't just Amber and I. That was Megan, Brian, and Kathy. And yeah, so one of the first things we did, and here's where I'm always like, man, I really wish I could get my manufacturing friends to use these Rotary resources. And here, apparently, maybe my Rotary friends need to look at some of the manufacturing resources. Is one of the big things we did was a health check. And you go to the doctor hopefully before you're actually deathly ill with hopes of kind of getting, on a good regimen to, keep you from getting deathly ill. And we talk about it on our machines. We need to do preventative maintenance. We need to be doing those checks. And in Rotary, we were talking about it that really we need to do a health check of our members and see, how are our members satisfied? Where are we lacking in various things? And I think we do employee satisfaction surveys to say that we've done employee satisfaction surveys, but I don't think we really have a very safe, open place where people can really speak their mind on that. But yeah, we do, I did it too. At least it's nothing new. When I was new, I was sure that everything out there had been written, could have been done better. That was my answer to almost every machine I went up on was, well, this was written the way would have written it, then this would never have happened. And, we wouldn't be standing here right now. And, you got to learn to respect what has already been put into place and understand what is working about it. I mean, there I was ragging on a machine probably that had been built 20 years before, I got into the industry. And that means that it had a good life cycle. But yeah, we did a lot of that on kind of establishing what is working in our clubs, what was not working in our clubs. One real good thing, and I want to try to get this into our training. It's only the second time I've done it. This was actually something that Megan and Brian mainly knew about was reciprocal teaching. This is where one we can break up into smaller groups, and I do believe all learning is more effective in a smaller group where there's a lot more conversational, you know, kind of teaching or coaching. I'm not even sure what word to use there compared to us really just standing in front of a crowd, barking as if we are the masters who know it all. And, because that's something we've been talking about too is really if somebody's just lecturing you, I'd love to know the statistic, but I bet you don't recall. I bet it's less than 10% of what you hear. But so we break up into different groups and everybody has a different topic that they learn about. And then you come back to your tables, and the person that was learning becomes the teacher. And so they teach to their table the particular topic that they learned about, and the next person does, the next person does. And I mean, you could really clearly see that there was a lot more engagement and a lot more, I think, insights into how they could actually use it, back at their clubs. So that was really cool. And then Megan did a stellar coaching session. And really, that's arguably what we do at our training. We have to call it training because nobody's going to come to a coaching session. But really, we don't train people per se as much as we help them realize how to use the tools that they have. Chances are, most of the knowledge, and this is good for everybody watching, the things you really need are probably up in your head, or you already know which resources. It's really how do we get to the point that we know when to access which resource and have the confidence that we are making the right decision. So that was really fun. Uh, Couple of questions, conversations that came up this week. One was NFC security, and I think Logan Butler. I mean, it was a really good conversation going on there. Is the 5034 IO? We're going to be doing some videos on that here real soon, and immediately he kind of said, make sure you disable the NFC. Now, the NFC is, like you take your phone and you tap something and it pays or whatever. That's how NFC, that's NFC, what we're talking about. So that's on the 5034 IO. And he said, well, as soon as you have it configured, you need to disable it. And I've got to think on that one. But my gut instinct on it is that I'm going to say no, because first of all, maybe that's a layer of defense, but there should be many more layers of defense than just disabling the NFC. So the fact that we'll say a bad actor has gotten into the control panel, at that point, I think we are probably beyond calling that a security measure. If that's the only security measure, no, I can't go with that. And I think here's one of those examples where we're going to lose way too much troubleshooting by disabling the NFC than we're going to gain in security by doing it. So no, I think on that one it is making sure that, well, first of all, do you even have your network actually built out, mapped out? Do you even know what's out there? That's probably number one. Disabling ports that are not in use. Access control lists, that's becoming probably the next big thing, is really that's how we're going to keep a lot of that traffic out. Uh, Before I would disable the NFC, I would put a lock on the control panel. I think that's probably a better deal, and I think overall that's a safety matter that needs to be there anyway, because that's how we keep unauthorized personnel out of a panel, mainly to keep them from getting electrocuted or arc flash hazards. So I think at that point the NFC is not harming anything by being enabled, and we'll keep that in mind. And yeah, I'll probably play with it. Also, I think it has the opportunity to be password protected, where you can make it read only. Not sure about that one though. Also, Rad's dad asked, I'm coming back to the SIM IPE, is the gateway pushed to the end device when you set an IP address? He's noting that if you're using Rockwell's Boot P tool, it only gets the subnet. Yes, it does. So on the SIM IPE, when you configure it, you're going to configure its IP address, subnet, gateway. And then when you plug into that other device, we simplify it where you only need to select the IP address, but it sends that IP address along with the subnet and gateway that you've assigned to the SIM IPE. Adam Fitz, he's an HVAC tech. He found one of our rotary phase converter videos where you can learn how to generate three-phase power, mainly for testing purposes. And actually, I'm going to renew that video pretty soon. There's been a lot of questions on it. But he asked, he's looking for schematics for the rotary phase converter. And that's something I stopped short of doing because I realized really quickly it's the whole gambit out there of applications and people's experience. And I'm like, yeah, people are going to say that I hooked it up like Tim did and I blew everything up. So the best thing to do when that's going to happen is you refer it to someone else. And I'm going to say Practical Machinist over on their forums, they have a great pinned post that goes through all types of rotary phase converter designs. So I would go check that out. Guitar playing Gibby. We're going back to describing what is the smell of magic smoke, or when that burn electrical smell, how do you describe it in the video? And he says it is like smelling the electric carbonated blueberry muffins. Well, you're right. That is a very distinct smell. I'm not sure I know exactly what that smell smells like, but it's odd enough that yeah, I can't argue with all that. That may be it. Jimmy Jones, unfortunately, he had to release some magic smoke, or actually, he was there because somebody else released some magic smoke into or from some PLC modules, and he ended up out on a job site for that. And then, yeah, Nanya 5392 was on my winking power supplies from earlier this week. I joked that the blinking lights are just winking because they're happy. So I swapped out a power supply earlier this week, and I couldn't get the power supply to power up because I had too much load on the power supply because its default setting was too low. But then I had to get the power supply powered up to change the default setting on the power supply. So yeah, it was a really cool video. Really, I think highlighted Turk's IO link. I mean, and Turk doesn't pay me anything to say this. I have access to a lot of different IO link modules. We're going to be playing with the 5034 IO link modules. And I'm excited about that. But the Turk one's the one that really, if I have no idea how to get into something, I can usually plug into that, and it will. I can usually work my way through it and get things going. All right. So I have class this week, and I'm really looking forward to it. It is a full house this week. Kind of funny. I'm getting today off, and that's why I'm going to cut this one short. I have today off to rest up. Actually, rest up and get ready to go to the grocery store. Got to do food prep for the week. Got to swing by the PLC lab, do a little bit more prep for a few special applications that some of the students have. People don't realize that, our training is custom nearly every class. There's some little thing where someone's like, I'm really struggling with this. And usually we'll set up for that particular item. But anyway, y'all have a great week. I'll see you next week.